In previous episodes, Josh and Arabindo explored the growth of their beanstalk over 5, 7, and 101 two-day periods. In this episode, the students will create an expression for the growth of their beanstalk over an unknown number of 1.5 day periods, and will explore this growth using a number line.
So, can you show me where the 1.5 day periods are? 1.5 day periods.
Is each tick mark a 1.5 day period or what?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
What factor does it increase over a 1.5 day period? And Josh, what factor is it going to increase by over n 1.5 day periods?
Here, let's
It would be
Can you show me how you could see this in the timeline, or talk about it in terms of the beanstalk, and this in terms of the beanstalk, and then say why they're
I
equal?
can put a ... here.
this part comes from this, and this part comes from whatever n is over there. I know.
Okay.
Oh yeah, let me just do something. Yeet, and then timeline continues until n.
Until what?
N. Oh wait, no. We have 1.5
Until.
groups at 1.5 n. Sorry.
So when does the timeline go to?
1.5 n day.
Day 1.5n?
Yeah.
Josh, can you tell me what 3 to the 1.5n, what that represents in terms of the beanstalk?
It represents the height
On
day n. I mean day 1.5n.
Okay. So this thing represents the height on on day 1.5n. What does this thing represent? Or if we want to break it down, what does this represent? 3 to the 1.5.
it represents the growth factor right over here for every 1.5 day period.
Do you agree with that, Josh?
Yeah.
So what would 3 to the 1.5 to the n represent?
It's like n is the amount of tick marks there are.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so what does 3 to the 1.5 to the n represent? And why is it the same as the height on day 1.5n?
Well, there's 1.5. It's a 1.5 factor between each tick marks. So that means the whole time that passes is 1.5 n. Think about it. So then the day will still be 3 to the 1.5 n. And this also, because we have this 1.5, n groups of 1.5 gives 1.5 n. Well, there's 3 to the 1.5, but it's this n times.
And what does that mean in terms of the beanstalk?
That means the growth factor from... Well, that means there's a 1.5 day, and there's n 1.5 days, and the growth factor for each 1.5 day period is 3 to the 1.5.
And so what does this represent? Is this a growth factor, a height, a day, or something else? This whole thing.
It represents a growth factor, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It also represents a height, because it's the same thing as this.
And why is it the same thing as that?
Because there is n groups of 1.5, which means there's 1.5 n, and there's 1.5 n groups of 3, which is this.
Okay.
In this episode, Arabindo and Josh created 2 equivalent expressions for the height of their beanstalk after n 1.5 day periods. 3 to the 1.5n represents this height after n 1.5 day periods because 1.5n days have passed during this time. Since the beanstalk grows by a factor of 3 over each of those days, the height on day 1.5n will be 3 to the 1.5n. The second way the students thought of this height focused on the growth factor over each 1.5 day period. This growth factor is 3 to the 1.5. Since the beanstalk grows by a factor of 3 to the 1.5 over each 1.5 day period, it has grown by a factor of 3 to the 1.5 n times, or a factor of 3 to the 1.5 to the n. Since these two expressions both represent the same height, they are equal. In the next episode, Josh and Aravindo find a general equation that describes the growth of the beanstalk over several periods of time.